Hey friends! So I thought I would share with you guys my sourdough process. I've been making sourdough for several years now, and I am not what they call a purist. I do it by heart, and it works every time, and it is not as complicated as some of your internet people will make you think. So I thought I will show you my process. First of all, this is my sourdough starter, and it is in a old mayonnaise jar. I used to use glass jars. If I have it, that's what I use, but I happen to have run out of them, so I just clean this out and I use it, and then I put it in my refrigerator when I'm not using it. So I do not keep my starter out and feed it every single day for days and days and days because it's a waste of flour. I also don't discard because I don't want to waste. The only time I would discard is if I'm going to use it in a recipe. So I take out my starter first thing in the morning when I know I'm going to make bread. I let it get to about room temperature, so after a couple hours, and then I feed it. I have my I have bread flour. I usually get the Walmart brand. I don't even get the most expensive kind. It really hasn't made a difference. So I have a huge flour. Let me just show you. I have a huge flour container that's just for my bread flour, and I keep a little scoop. This scoop actually came in one of our protein powder shakes, and so I use it to feed my starter. And I would say if you're going to use a glass jar or any kind of jar, try to find one with a wide mouth because it makes it easier when you're feeding it. So I usually do about 2 or 3 scoops. My starter is usually about to right here. I use 2 or 3 scoops of the bread flour, and then I use filtered water or purified water. I usually have tons of this. I either have it in the refrigerator or I have it in the in the pantry. So I pour just a little bit, and then you mix it. You mix it up really good, and it should look like pancake batter. And it's okay, it's gonna have lumps in it and everything. So you mix it till it looks about like this, right? And it smells so good. I love the smell of sourdough starter. I know that maybe is crazy, but I love it. So I feed it, and then once I'm done feeding it, I'm going to set it up in my stove. I turn on the light in my oven, and then I put it in the oven with hold on, let me show you. So I just take a cloth and put it over the top of it and put a little lid on it. That way it can breathe, and I leave it in there for a few hours so that it'll begin to rise. And when I notice that there are bubbles starting, sometimes I wait longer and it'll have more bubbles, and then that's going to give you a little stronger of the sour flavor in your sourdough bread. But sometimes I just don't want to wait that long. So as long as it starts activating and rising, I don't even wait till it doubles. And then I go ahead and start my process. That'll be next. The next thing that I have found very helpful after you have used whatever, I have one of these, you can use a spoon, whatever, use a wooden spoon if you're going to, but this works really well. I got it on Amazon. After you've mixed your starter, then you want to clean it. Now you do not clean sourdough in your sink. Any of the sourdough stuff, it's gonna clog up your sink and turn into cement. So I always take my finger and I just kind of scrape it down. If you'll wet your fingertips and then scrape it down, so it'll drip back into your little container, so you'll save that. And then you can just take a paper towel and wet it and just clean off your utensil that you had to use, and then wipe off your fingers, and then you can wash it, and that'll work out fine. But you do not want to direct wash it in your sink, or you're gonna have a clogged up sink very quickly. Okay, so our sourdough starter has risen, and we have the nice little bubbles in it. It smells fantastic. Now we're going to begin the first part of this process, and that's where we're going to create a shaggy dough. You're going to need a food scale. Set it to grams. My recipe is in grams, and it is always more successful when I use grams when making bread or basically any, whether I'm making rolls or any kind of dough. It just does better whenever you use grams. So you set it to 0, then you put your container. I have a little bowl from Dollar Tree. I like the kind that has a lid on it, and you will see why in just a minute. I go ahead and get it out. So my recipe will be down below so that you can follow it. This is to make a mini loaf. You can double it, and then that makes a regular size sourdough loaf, an artisanal loaf. But I prefer to make half loaves. So it doesn't go bad and I can eat it fast enough. I usually just have it in the mornings and nobody else has it, so I have it for myself. So this is the perfect for one person to last you, 4 or 5 days. So first you're going to do 160 grams of water. You do want to do purified water, or I use my bottled waters. So we are going to do 160 grams. Just measure it, and it does need to be exact, because if you change anything on it, if you were to change your grams on your water, you're going to have to change it on every other part of your recipe. So I always try to get it as exact as I can. So 160. Now I'm going to hit tare on your food scale, zero it back out, and I'm going to add my sourdough starter. And I do 50 grams, and I just spoon it out. I try to spoon it, and if you want to see what it looks like on the inside, it's so good. I spoon it out because I also don't like it being all over the sides that much. I try to keep it scraped down. So we are going to do 50 grams of that. Just kind of scrape it. Okay, there we go. We got 50 grams. And it did get on my lid. I always take a wet paper towel and try to clean that off, because you do not want it to seal up and get hard. And then you take 6 grams of salt. I do between 6 and 9 grams of salt. It just depends on what you're feeling like. So 6 grams of salt. Zero out your measure. 6 grams. I'm going to do 7. Okay. Oops. So now you have it. Let me show you what it looks like in here. Can you see it? All right. So now you are going to take your spoon and mix this and just get it incorporated pretty good. And to keep things from sticking to your hands, if you have to slide stuff off of your spoon, like how we did when we were stirring up the starter, just wet your fingers. Like in the sink, wet your fingers real quick, and then you'll be able to clean off your spoon easily. It won't stick to you so bad. All right, so now you have, it kind of looks like glue paste. You know, when you're making paper mache, that's what it reminds me of. All right, so you're going to take that. Here's what it looks like. There you go. And now you are going to measure in your flour. And remember, we're using bread flour. Mine is just the Walmart brand. I have never had an issue with it, but it does need to be bread flour. Do not use all-purpose or self-rising. It does not work the same. Okay, so I'm going to use 250 grams of bread flour. So I'm just going to take my scooper, because it's more than my little tiny scooper. I'm going to take this and start measuring 250. Again, you want to be exact. I would say bread is a science, but it's not like a super particular science, but some things do matter, and your measurements matter in this case. All right. I got a little bit too much, so I'm going to take some off the top. So 250, and again, this is to make a half loaf of sourdough. All right, so I've got 250, and now I am going to take it off of my scale, and I'm going to mix it. You're going to mix it and make it like what it's called a shaggy dough. You go around the sides. Make sure you get on the bottom. I always scrape the bottom. When I first started, I would forget to shape the bottom. So let's see if I can get it to where you can see what we're actually looking at. Okay. Sort of like when you're making biscuits. It kind of reminds me of that. So you're going to keep mixing it. It'll start forming a dough, but it doesn't really make a good dough ball at this point. That comes later. And then I always like to take, and when it's getting like this, I run my spoon along the bottom, because I do not like to dirty up a lot of different dishes. I do everything in this one container. So as it dries, it does get flaky and hard, and you're going to let your bread actually rise in the same bowl because it's just easier. So scrape it off the sides, get it off the bottom really good. It saves for cleanup later on, and it saves for while your bread is rising, so it doesn't get those little hard crusty spots on it. So now I have what is called a shaggy dough. All right. Now this is where I put a glove on, because sourdough dough will stick to your hands, and then you have to clean your hands off over the trash can and do all the things. So I always keep a pair of bread gloves. That's what we call them. I mean, they're disposable, but I reuse them. So what you're going to do, now you're going to squeeze your dough. This is very important. Okay, it helps to incorporate it. It helps it get its shape, and all those little lovely bubbles that you're going to like. This is where it starts coming in at the beginning. So you're going to wet your glove like this. You're not soaking. You just kind of run it under the water. See if I can always let's see if we can do it like this and get it off the spoon as much as you can, because again, you do not want to clean any of your sourdough dishes in your drain. It will be very bad. You can ask my husband. He had to clean out the drain the first time after I cemented it shut. So I try to get it as clean as I can, and then I will clean the rest of it with a paper towel, and then I can rinse it in the sink. All right, so now you're going to take your wet glove, and you are going to go through and just squeeze and let go. Squeeze and let go. Squeeze and let go. See? I'm just picking up, squeeze, let go. And you just go all the way around, because you started with a shaggy dough, remember? Just squeeze until it starts forming a little bit of its own kind of ball, and it gets a little shiny, and you'll notice it's not sticking to your glove as much. The water, you don't want too much water on your glove, because then you're changing your ratios in your dough, but if it's just enough to wet it, it keeps it from sticking so bad. All right. So then I go through, I do a lot of squeezes till I don't see any dry spots. And then I kind of push it down just a little bit. You want to work it. It helps develop the gluten in it, the natural gluten in it. Okay. All right, so once it looks like this, it looks pretty good. And I go through and scrape the sides of my bowl. So once it looks like this, right, you are going to take your glove off. I always keep a cookie mat down that's lightly floured, because you're going to use it in your next step. And I just take my glove off very gently, and I let it dry, because then in a little bit, when I come back to use it, I'm going to take it over the trash can, and I can just do like this, and it'll get all the crusties off of the glove, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. And I didn't have to put it on my hand. So now what you're going to do is take this, put a lid on it, turn the light on in your oven, and you're going to put it in there for about an hour. In an hour, you're going to take it back out on a lightly floured surface, and we're going to work the dough. That will be probably the only, we might work it one more time after that. And then we're going to forget about it for hours until we're ready to cook. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so now I have let it sit and rest, and I am going to lightly flour a cookie sheet, and then I'm going to use my glove, because it's still going to be a little bit sticky, and I just want to avoid the extra mess on my hand. So flour your glove a little bit, and then pull your dough out, and it should look like this. So now, make sure you guys can see me. I just drop it onto my surface, and you're going to begin to pull it and stretch it. I just do it with one hand, and then you see it's kind of good and coated, so it's not sticky anymore. Now you can take your glove off if you want. And then it's still a little bit sticky, but you can roll it around in the flour. Don't do a whole lot, it's just a light flouring. stretch and drop it down. So make sure you can see what I'm doing. You're going to stretch it and then push it down. Stretch it and push it down. And you work your way in a complete circle until you can get it into a nice little ball. Okay. Whoop, sorry guys. So you're going to get it in that nice little dough ball shape, right? That's going to be perfect. You guys are going to have to just bear with me as we try to get the camera angles right. All right, so anyhow, so you're going to get the nice little dough. This one is thick. And then you're going to put it back into your container, put the lid on it, and forget about it for, I would say, about 4 hours. And then when you come back, you should see it filling up the bowl, and it should have good bubbles all throughout it. You're going to do another stretch, and then you're going to turn your oven on, and then you're going to be ready to bake. Okay, so now I have let it sit and rest, and I am going to lightly flour a cookie sheet, and then I'm going to use my glove because it's still going to be a little bit sticky, and I just want to avoid the extra mess on my hand. So flour your glove a little bit and then pull your dough out, and it should look like this. So now, make sure you guys can see me. I just drop it onto my surface, and you're going to begin to pull it and stretch it. I just do it with one hand, and then you see it's kind of good and coated, so it's not sticky anymore. Now you can take your glove off if you want. And then it's still a little bit sticky, but you can roll it around in the flour. Don't do a whole lot, it's just a light flouring. Stretch and drop it down. So make sure you can see what I'm doing. You're going to stretch it and then push it down. Stretch it and push it down. And you work your way in a complete circle until you can get it into a nice little ball. Okay. Whoop, sorry guys. So you're going to get it in that nice little dough ball shape, right? That's going to be perfect. You guys are going to have to just bear with me as we try to get the camera angles right. All right, so anyhow, so you're going to get the nice little dough. This one is thick. And then you're going to put it back into your container, put the lid on it, and forget about it for, I would say, about 4 hours. And then when you come back, you should see it filling up the bowl, and it should have good bubbles all throughout it. You're going to do another stretch, and then you're going to turn your oven on, and then you're going to be ready to bake. Okay, so now you're going to shape it, and you're going to put it on some parchment paper that has a little bit of cornmeal on it to keep it from sticking and burning. So you shape it, and you want to be gentle because you don't want to burst any of the lovely little bubbles that we love in our sourdough. So you just stretch a little bit, pull to the center. Once you get the shape you want, you're going to pinch it in the middle to make your little dough ball. And then I have a lightly floured surface. Now you're going to tighten up your ball. All right, so now it looks beautiful. Let's see if you can see it. There you go. So we're going to put it on our little surface. So a parchment paper that has a little bit of cornmeal on it. Put it on there, just like this, as you can see. So then you're going to pop it into your pan. I like to use a roasting pan. Put your lid on it and throw it in your oven